Hey y'all, it's Betsy, and today we are doing a back to basics video for silhouette. So a lot of you are new who follow me, and I just did the Cricut video like this, but now we're going to do a silhouette video for all of you who need the basic tutorial for how to use your machine. And this is going to be how to make a t-shirt using your silhouette. So today what you're going to need for this are your silhouette, which I have a Silhouette Cameo 3, a t-shirt, which I'm using a Bella and Canvas black t-shirt. I'm using the Thermoflex Plus graphite vinyl. Isn't that a gorgeous shade? It's a metallic, but it's darker than the silver. I love this color. It reminds me of pencil lead. Like it's almost that carbony kind of color. Scissors, your Easy Weed and wooden pick. I'm using my 16-inch t-shirt guide because I am using my big heat press, which is a Hotronix Air Fusion, and it is already preheated to 330 degrees for 15 seconds is how long we're going to heat this. And you're also going to need your Teflon sheet. Now, if you'll give me a minute, I'll get the camera angle changed so you can see everything that we are going to do. Okay, so as you can see, we are in Silhouette Studio Business Edition. Up here at the top, you can tell what edition you're in. There's Basic, and then there's Designer. If you're wanting to import in SVGs, you need to have at least Designer, which I think is a $50 upgrade, and Business Edition is a $100 upgrade. Now, what we're going to want to do is I'm zooming in a little bit so I can see what I'm doing. And today we're just doing a text-only design. So for our first word, first thing you're going to want to do, let me go ahead and delete this so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to go to the left-hand side of the screen and click the text icon. Now, our first word we're going to want to do in all caps, which is just the word text. Now we're going to take and highlight just that word so we can change the font. And I'm going to use Unleash Sans Serif. Most of the fonts that I have are either from defont.com, 1001 free fonts, as well as Hungry JPEG, Craft Bundles, things like that. So just look for the name of the font and you should be able to find it. Now, for the other two words, we're going to take and use all lowercase. And we're going to take and select all that. We definitely want to change the justification or justify to center. Now we're going to change the font for that. And we want something that is cursive and kind of bold. Let's see. That one's good, but I'm not sure if that's exactly what I want. That's too fine. There we go. As you can see, I have a lot of fonts on my computer. You do not have to have all these fonts. This is just what I like. Let's see. Nope, too tiny. Okay, so we're going to go with Night Brush Demo. So as you can see, we're going to go ahead and zoom in a little bit more. This font, they overlap. So the first thing that we want to go ahead and do is we want to ungroup. And then we're going to take and select the word Another. And we're going to right click on it and click Weld. So now, as you can see, it is all one word instead of having each separate piece. So now we're going to do the same thing with Manic, and we're going to take and right click and select Weld. There we go. Now we need to type out the rest of it. So what we're going to be doing is typing out M-O-M, I forget what that thing is called. It's the center separator. Someone correct me down below and tell me what that is. Okay, now we're going to want to change that to the same font, the Unleash Sans Serif that we used. Select it and change that to the Unleash Sans Serif that we used for Just. Now, my computer wants to think right now. We're going to move that over. And for another in Manic, let's go ahead and make that bigger. Now, and the way that you can make this bigger is you can change it up at the top, or you can take and just grab, oh, let's undo that. Okay, so we want to make sure, see how we lost the dot? Now we want to make sure, there we go. So, let's take this and the dot, and we're going to go up to Object and group that together. So now that's going to move together. Now we're going to select the whole piece, and we're going to go to Object, Align, Align Center. There we go. Now I want to go ahead and adjust that to where the letters are closer together. I don't like there to be a lot of empty space, which is a personal preference of mine. You can do it however you want to, but this is just what I like to do. Perfect. Now, as you can see, I'm selecting the whole image again, which I'm just taking and clicking on the mat, because that's what's showing right now is the mat. Grabbing it all by holding down the right mouse key and selecting everything. Now we're going to go up to Object and we're going to group it. Now what I want to go ahead and do is we're going to go ahead and convert to path. So now that is no longer a font. Now this is an actual cut file. Now we want to change the size of the design to 10.5 inches wide, since we are doing a t-shirt with this. Now let's go ahead and zoom out so we can see our whole mat. Now we're going to take and center that somewhat on the mat, however you want to do it. We're going to take and right click on the mouse and we're going to flip horizontally. Now it is mirrored and ready to cut. So then what we're going to do is go up to our send right here, and we're going to choose how we're going to cut this. Now, if you're just printing, you would choose no cut. There's cut, and then there's cut edge, which as you can see takes and almost makes an outline. I typically stick with just cut. Now, my material is going to be selected for heat transfer smooth. As you can see, there's a lot of different types of heat transfer in here. So, and the action is going to be cut. And since this is a Cameo 3, it has an auto blade. But as you can see, like if I change it to fabric thick canvas, it changes the number right here, which is how deep the blade goes. And it changes your force and your speed and how many passes. So we're going to go ahead and change that back to heat transfer smooth. There we go. And see, that makes it the depth of the blade on 2, the speed at 8, and the force at 4. Now, we're going to go ahead and send it to our machine. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is take our vinyl and lay it on our mat. We're going to lay it on the top corners where it matches with the grid, as you can see. Let me adjust that just a little bit. And it doesn't matter if it's off on the mat a little bit, if it's hanging down lower, because the machine sees it. Now what we're going to do is you're going to have to lean down here a little bit, babe, is we're going to align that edge right there with the line, that blue line. Make sure the bar is lowered. There we go. Okay, now we're going to click load. Okay, now on the computer part, we're going to go ahead and click send. Send as is because I've already mirrored it. And as you can see, it's adjusting the auto blade to make sure it is set on the settings we chose in Silhouette Studio. And as you can see, it's cutting. You know what it kind of reminds me of, the sounds that it makes? It sounds a lot different than the Cricut, but it almost reminds me of like old school printers, or like what it sounded like when we were in school, like those dot matrix printers or whatever. So that's just me, but the one thing I'm not the biggest fan of with the Silhouette is it doesn't tell me how long's left to cut the vinyl. Those are just a few things that I'm picky about. And to me, the Cricut is a little bit easier to navigate. But if you're wanting to do actual design work, the Silhouette is the way to go. So it's going. Shouldn't have too much to cut since it's only 5 words technically. And now when you're cutting HTV, one thing I forgot to tell you is you always want to put the shiny side down. If you don't, then you're cutting through the backing of it, which holds all of your letters together. Now, all of the supplies that I've mentioned for this video, the vinyl, the Easy Weed Wooden Pick, the t-shirt guide, the t-shirt itself, are all available on our website. You don't have to purchase from us. We definitely appreciate it when you do, but you purchasing from us is not going to keep us from doing actual tutorials. Doesn't that sound horrible? I mean, it's doing what it's supposed to. It's just, it sounds terrible. No, it sounds like that even whenever it's not. But whenever I set up my cutting station, I chose to have what I used most up front. Now, for those of you who have asked about Brother Scan and Cut, one of my employees has one, so I'm going to play with it and see if that works for us. There we go. Okay. Now, give me a minute to get the camera angle changed so you can see how we're going to weed this. Okay, so as you can see, we are going to first go ahead and trim down our vinyl. So that way the excess of the graphite will end up in our scrap box. Now we're going to go ahead and weed the design, which, if you're not familiar with, weeding is the term used whenever you remove the excess vinyl. As I said, I adore this color. It reminds me of pencil lead. There we go. As you can see, it's not anything super complicated to weed. Now we're going to go ahead and remove the centers of our letters. There we go. Okay, in my Cricut video, I had someone ask, how do you know whenever your vinyl is adhered? What did it do right there? Let's see. There we go. There was a part that it didn't, just a tiny little piece that didn't want to cut through right there. So we fixed it though. I just used my pick to kind of break the vinyl apart right there. Okay. There we go. but asking how you know your vinyl is adhered whenever you're putting HTV on a shirt. Now, one of the things is, especially on like your regular, your Caesar Easy Weed, your Thermoflex Plus, any of like your regular HTVs, you're going to be able to tell because you will see the texture of the t-shirt coming through. Now on my heat press, I load it on, but you can take and just lay it on your heat press. You can use a home iron, a Cricut Easy Press, whatever you want to do. I have videos on how to do all three. There we go. Now I'm going to take and use my 16-inch t-shirt guide and align it with the two top corners of my heat press. Now, whenever you want to buy a t-shirt guide, I get asked this all the time as well. How do you know how big to get? You buy for the size of your heat press. Now, what I typically do is I fold the vinyl in half so that way I have a center mark, but I fold it with the sticky part facing out, because if you fold it with the sticky part facing in, you can have some issues. There we go. Now we're going to take and use that center mark right here and line it up with the center on the t-shirt guide. And we want it to be about 3 fingers or so down from the top. Anytime you're doing an adult shirt, that's pretty much where you want it. Other than if it's a V-neck, those are a different story. And then I take and double check and make sure by using my hands and making sure everything looks nice and center. Most of the time t-shirts are not sewn straight, so some of it is eyeballing. There we go. Now I'm covering it with my Teflon sheet. You do not have to purchase a new Teflon sheet every time you heat press something. This one's old. I've been using this one for 2 years. You can keep reusing it. And if you look at my heat press, come here, hon. It is set on 330 degrees for 15 seconds. So what we do is we press. There we go. We remove the clear plastic layer, and then I always take and repress. You do not pre-wash your shirts, because if you do, fabric softener can affect the adherence of your vinyl. Now we're going to repress it again for 15 seconds. And we are going to be getting more in depth in these tutorials, but again, this is a back to basics course on how to set up your designs. There we go. Now, let's see if we can get this zoomed in enough. Will that show, since it's kind of, can you see the texture a little bit?
I think so. It's hard to tell on this tiny little screen.
Okay, so if you can see that on there, that's showing that the texture of the shirt is showing through. That's how you know it's adhered. Look how cute that turned out. Simple, easy, something anybody can make, and you can use the same tutorial whenever you're setting it up for the Cricut. Same kind of thing, just a little bit different. Now remember, if you like this video, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button right down below. And if you hit the notification bell icon next to it, that will notify you when I post new videos, which right now is every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Don't forget to check me out on all my social medias, Facebook, Snapchat, Twitter, Instagram, as well as my second channel, which is Betsy Gocher, which is where I do all things makeup and all things business. It's been a day, y'all. But other than that, I guess we'll see you on the next one. Bye.